Come, Kiri, please.
So hello, everyone. I feel that all the presentations today have basically led so perfectly into what I want to talk about today. So thank you to all the amazing speakers that have given us their insights today and shared not only their professional experiences, but their personal experiences as well. And I think that summits like this, where business owners, business professionals come together and share honestly about what's going on, how they did it, and are open to saying how they failed at it and got back up again, is so important for the growth of our industry. And as indies, we have the opportunity to all work together towards this. So I knew I was speaking, and I didn't know what on until the Thursday before Easter. And so Julian and I decided on the Thursday before Easter where the gap was and that I would fill it. And so this is what I put together. You'll see that I am respecting all of the creatives in the room by having no creative involved in my presentation. I'm in communication marketing, and today I'm going to talk about a talent-first approach and the need for agencies to focus on talent. We started the conference with a talk about profits, pricing, and you were asked after that session to think about what is that 1, 2, or 3 things that you can do when you get back to your office to make that change. Here we're finishing with what I think is the most important part of any agency today, and that is our people. And again, I'm presenting to you some ideas. If there's 1, 2, 3 things that you can take away and go implement immediately, fantastic. If you look at it and say, do it all already, even better. And I'd love to hear your experiences of that. We may or may not be moving on with this presentation. Oh. So, we're agencies, and our role is to bring talented people together to solve problems for clients. That's it. Right? That's what we do. And this is our daily struggle. Right? Now, looking at that seesaw of the talent, the people who work with us, and the client, the people who give us the revenue, give us the remit, give us the brief, this is where we have to balance the interests of both of these people. And in the past, all of us will know, and those of older generations especially, that the client has always had the louder voice, right? They're the ones that give us the revenue. They're the ones that allow us to have the businesses that we have. But in recent years, talent, their voices are getting louder and louder. And today, we can't ignore the voices of the people in our office. And so the pandemic, this was all happening before the pandemic hit. But the pandemic escalated the speed at which the change occurred. These are some headlines we've been reading over the last year. You'll see lying flat, quiet quitting, millennials complaining about Gen Z. Loved that headline. We're looking at the agency model is broken, the great resignation, mental health, burnout, quiet quitting, 996 culture in China, the gender pay gap, something I'm very passionate about changing. This is the kind of issues that we've all been looking at and that we've, sorry, I got thrown because my thing here turned off, but anyway. These are the issues that we've all been facing. And the media is also telling us what the solution is, what the next generation want. And let's remember that actually these headlines here don't just talk about the next generations. We have now 5 generations in the workforce for the first time ever. And remember that those 5 generations are both on our talent side and our client side. And they need to interact and work together. But look, this is what people are asking for: belonging, praise, feedback, regular feedback, more feedback, flexibility, grown-upification, love that. We should allow them to be adults. We're looking at the idea that people are no longer just interested in salary or in pay. You've got headlines like this through all of your markets, is that right? I truly believe that indie agencies have the opportunity to lead the change towards a talent-first model. And I think that as indie agencies, because of our agility, because of our flexibility, we can do that quite quickly in a way that others can't. And I've been hearing conversations throughout the last 2 days about people stealing your talent because they have more money. So the big groups are, when there's a talent crunch, they come in and they just pay more, right? And the talent moves. Or we're hearing issues about, what do they want? How do I motivate them? Will they come back to the office? What I want to propose is that if we as businesses actually change the way we think and put up our people before our profits and before our clients, we actually get better results with our clients and better profits. What are the advantages of a talent-first approach? We all know this already, right? You've read this, you've heard this. Healthier, happy, less stressed teams, higher motivation and satisfaction level, lower employee turnover and absenteeism, more creative, efficient team collaboration, better work product and outcomes, loyal clients, renewed contracts, higher profit. So who am I to be talking to you about this? So, hi everyone, I'm Kiri. I think I've personally met most of you. If I haven't, I would love to. I am here today talking about what I've done, because all I can do is tell you my lived experience. I can tell you what works, what doesn't work. This is our Hong Kong team here because of the lockdowns and so forth that we've all had, and travel blockages in Asia. We haven't got the full team together to add in our China and Singapore teams. But you can see here that we have quite a diverse team. We're an independent marketing communications agency. We specialize in PR, digital, experiential, and social media marketing. I believe strongly in a PR approach, which means a storytelling approach. That's what we do. We help our clients to create and deliver storytelling to different audiences across B2B and B2C in the ways that their audiences wish to receive that. I've had a lot of people ask me, like, where am I from? So I'll answer that one while I'm here as well. I'm born in Hong Kong. My mother is American. She's a retired professor of occupational therapy. My father is a New Zealander, born in Wellington, and he was a renowned journalist in Asia for 40 plus years at the SCMP. I consider myself a Hong Konger. People come in all different shapes and sizes. So thinking that way, I also consider myself Asian. I grew up, have been educated, and have lived in Hong Kong my entire life. But I have had the opportunity of working with people across different markets and from all over the world, because the markets I work in are so multicultural. And so that's the approach that I'm bringing today, and my background and who I am. So 14 years of running a business that I started on two founding principles: integrated communications and team first, always. And it's the team first that I want to talk to you about today. So as an agency, we have a vision, and that is to be the most trusted, full-service, cross-sector regional agency founded on career growth, client partnerships, quality work, and community good. So our approach to the career growth part is to be a platform where people can grow their career. Because if we offer a space where talent can come in and join us and grow the career that they want, then they will stay with us, and they'll be loyal to us, and they'll do fabulous work. Those of you who have met me or been in discussions with me will know that I have very strong values, and I place them very highly, and I filter everything through those values. These are our corporate values, and as an agency, you can see that team first comes before client partnerships, because we don't have client partnerships without teams. And of course, excellence, creativity, respect, honesty and integrity, balance and community good. When we talk to the people in our agency, we talk about what we can give to each other. How do we make this a win-win? And this is an amazing proposition that my awesome COO has put together to show our talent and our people what it is that we offer, so that they really understand what the full spectrum and scope of our work is. Obviously not pressing this thing hard enough. Oops. Okay, so what I'm going to walk through now is a talent-first approach, a talent-first agency model. It's got 8 pillars to consider, and what I'm putting forth is what has worked for us. Remember that we're an agency, that we're based out of Asia, so our offices are Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Singapore. We work with one P&L and a cohesive team across the region. We also work with many agency partners from around the world, if we're delivering on a global or a regional scale, as well as freelancers and specialists, depending on what the work is. So first, healthy, safe, supportive work environment. So what does this mean to me? It means a zero-tolerance discrimination policy, and that has to come from the top. Everyone should be able to walk into an office or an online meeting or whatever it is and be their authentic selves. Not judged, not gossiped about, not expected to be something other than what they are. Because we've employed that person to be who they are and bring themselves to work, because we need that full self in the marketing remit to be able to understand the audiences that are out there around the world, right? That diversity, that it's not just diversity in, let's say, gender or ethnicity or so forth. It's also diversity in how we feel and how we deliver ourselves. I mean, I was just hearing about introverts and extroverts. It's so true. People should no matter who they are, be able to come to work as themselves. Second point there, and don't worry, I'm not going to go through all the points, I'm just going to pick a few as we go through. But the second point there is our agency client guidelines. I strongly feel that following the pandemic, there is a degree of kind of communal PTSD going on, right? Especially in Asia, because we've only just come out of it. Hong Kong, we took our masks off 5 weeks ago. You know, so we're still kind of moving through that. What we wanted to introduce, and during the pandemic, anyone who's in PR and communications will know that we've just spent 3 years in crisis mode. Like there was a fire, then there was a fire, in our movie here, there's another fire, right? And we're just constantly putting out fires. And so at this point in time, we kind of have to say to the client, hey, dude, the fire's over. It's no longer a crisis. We need to start thinking about long-term planning and long-term strategy and stop all this short-termism. Because the short-termism is damaging their brands and damaging all of our teams, ours and the client side. Where we decided to then support our teams is to come together to create an agency client guideline. So for our existing clients, we rolled this out to them, and for our new clients, it's part of our contract. This says how we communicate with the client, when we communicate with the client, the level of respect that we expect and that they should expect from us. It's all written down, so there's no misunderstandings. Clients shouldn't be WhatsApping or WeChatting, an individual team member at 10 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning saying, do this and deliver it by 9 a.m. The fire's over, the crisis is done. We need to be able to lay a foundation where our teams can feel if they got that WhatsApp at 10 p.m. at night, that they can ignore it until they get to work in the morning, right? And that they can say to the client, if they feel that they need to respond, no problem at all, I'll have a look at this when I get to the office. Or as I do, just not respond till my workday starts. We need to start teaching our clients and our teams what's appropriate, because we don't know anymore, especially our junior teams, that people who have joined the workforce during the pandemic, or people that have forgotten. Like, 3 years is a long time, and in Hong Kong you add 2019 to it because that was quite a disruptive year for us as well. The third point there, mental health training. So we asked all of our senior managers and above to do a mental health training certificate through either Mind Hong Kong or an equivalent, so that they are trained to know when there are issues and how they can respond to them in the appropriate way. Not that they should be responding in a way of trying to solve the problem, but understanding that there's a problem and knowing what the resources are to refer that person on, or how to appropriately behave during that time. Flexible work policies. There's a lot of talk also about work from home, who's got their teams back to the office and so forth, and I know every market is completely different. It's not really a problem for us in Hong Kong because the majority of our team wants to be in the office. In Shanghai, post-lockdown, people are slowly returning to the office when and how they can. But I do expect in time that most people will want to be in the office. We do, however, offer 1 day work from home a week, and we ask all hands on board on Tuesdays, and otherwise it's up to them. There are many people in our team who don't even take that 1 day work from home. Flexible work, though, is much more than that. It's about people who want to get to work early in the morning and leave earlier so they can spend the evening with their kids. Or people who want to work out in the morning and get to work a bit later and leave a bit later. That's okay too. People who would prefer to work through lunch and go to the gym when it's not so busy, or get their nails done, go to a doctor's appointment. It's not up to us to treat them like children. As long as they're getting the job done, they don't need to be accountable every second of the day to us, as long as that work is being done and they're turning up when they're meant to turn up, in my opinion. We also have a personal wellness incentive where we offer our teams a certain amount of money every single month that they can expend through the agency, and they can do something for themselves, giving them the right to, that feeling of being allowed to go and have a self-care experience of some variety. The second one is hierarchy and silo-free structure. So anyone who's worked with me will know that I don't like to be a boss. I don't see the world that way. I see the world as everyone, no matter their age and no matter their level of experience, we are all equal. And if we enter into the conversation as all of us are equal and we're bringing different levels of experience in our lived experience and our work experience together, we're able to actually produce better work. Of course, there are people that have different titles and different level of experience, and we are in Asia where there is kind of an embedded hierarchy. And in a sense, we're trying to break that embedded hierarchy. And so, as much as is appropriate for other markets, take what you like. For us, we have a matrix structure. So that means that we don't have set teams. We don't have an account director, account manager, and an account executive all always working together. What we do is we encourage entrepreneurship, and we manage our teams through a mentorship program. So every single person has an individual who is 2 levels above them, who can guide them on their personal and professional journey and towards career progression. If they have a problem, they've got a go-to person, right? Then when they're working on a client, they will work in different team groups with one individual being appointed the client lead. So for example, if I'm on a client team and there's an account manager, which we call managers, if there's a manager that is the client lead for that, they will give me my deadlines. They will tell me what I have to do to contribute to the client in the way that the team's been put together. Career mapping. Now, this is a really important one for me. I think that it's important for us to be able to talk honestly, openly, transparently, and inclusively with our team members about what does their career with us look like. So in our agency playbook, we actually have it fully outlined. So this is, the layers that we have at the agency. Here are the job descriptions, for each of those. You can look at those job descriptions. You can look at my job description and see what I'm meant to be doing on a daily basis. What's my responsibility to understand how they want to build their career. If they want to go up the traditional path of, executive to manager to director, or if they want to go into a specialization, within, let's say, focusing on copywriting or digital production or so forth. They can talk about that career mapping with their mentor, and also at that time they're talking about the training and learning that they need to create the career that they want, not the career that I want for them, not the career that I need them to do. So this idea of having a job and trying to place a person into a job, it's not going to fit much in the future. I think that for me, the way I look at it is we need to fill this gap, perhaps. Maybe it's someone with a bit more B2C content who speaks English natively and has a ability to write great copy, right? Maybe that's what I need. And then we go out and we look at who's in the market, meet a lot of people, see what those personalities are like and what personality is going to fit our agency. So kind of a backward approach, but actually it works better for us. Inclusion and transparency and decision making. We do this through filtering decisions to the entire agency. So at different levels, asking people, how are they feeling about this? Is this something they want to do? We want their feedback before we go and roll anything out. And to some people, that's really icky. Like, why would I, talk to my junior team members about some of the big decisions of the agency? But if we don't, we're not bringing them with us. And I think for me, it's all about having people feel included in the process. And if you look back at those headlines, belonging, inclusion, feedback, it's creating a structure where people can feel that they are part of. And that brings us on to the involvement in agency process. So we have an opt-in culture when it comes to agency responsibility, and then we hand over a lot of the responsibilities for internal agency processes, committees, and so forth to the team. So we have ambassadors that lead committees in culture, sustainability, DE&I, and they tell us what they're doing. They tell us what the agenda is, what goals they're working towards and when they're going to deliver them. Then they report to the whole team on what they've accomplished. And what that means is that they feel responsible, right? So for us, our creative manager is our culture ambassador. So he drives the culture team. He tells us what we're doing for our, end of year celebrations. He tells us what our celebration hours look like. This is really important. They're curating the place they want to work rather than me dictating what I think is going to make them happy. We also are very clear in making sure that with business development, we're including everyone from the interns all the way up in the business development process. And the reason I mention that and bring it up, I was trying to go, there we go, BD opportunities for all, is that by doing that, when we do win the client, they feel that they belong to that client, that they want it, it's theirs, they're part of it. And that sense of belonging is so important. You see so much more passion, enjoyment from them, but also the creative ideas that come from people who opted to work on a client, won the client, and then grew with the client are absolutely amazing. And insight sharing, and you'll see that on our website. So then we're moving on to individual career progression. So here I was talking about our job descriptions and such. So another thing we do is when someone joins us, and every year thereafter, we ask them to fill out a survey that highlights their experience and their passion for each of the industry sectors that we deliver to, each of the services that we deliver, and each of the markets we work in, so that we can then map them back to their passion points. Learning and training is delivered by both our internal team when we're training each other on our areas of expertise or our learnings, and by external parties that come in, as well as ensuring we actually have KPIs for our team to go out and attend conferences and seminars, so they're hearing, for example, what's being said in rooms like this around the world. Recognition for individual success, for me, is one of the most important parts. And so rather than, when we're looking at awards and so forth, yes, we put the agency forward, but rather than looking at kind of best place to work awards or anything like that, we put our people forward. They can see that there is industry-wide recognition for their success when they're working with us. And actually, this year alone, we have 4 women who have been awarded. So Carbo's in the room here somewhere. As a woman to watch for APAC by Campaign, and younger members, yes, absolutely. And most recently, Sai and Zoe. So at the PRCA APAC Awards, one of our directors was Industry Leader of the Year for APAC, and one of our juniors was Most Up-and-Coming for APAC. So, these are the proof points. So yes, we have to measure ourselves. These are the proof points. And I should say also that our Hong Kong MD, Jessica, is also a woman to watch for Greater China. Proof points of success. We're doing something right if we're able to develop their careers. And all 4 of those women have been with us for over 6 years. Over 5 years. 6. Thank you. For over 6 years. So we've developed their careers as a team. Right? And we're seeing that they are the best in the industry, as said by other people. I mean, that to me is truly amazing. That's me doing my job right. Because then they are hugely passionate about their clients. And they go out and deliver amazing work. And that's where the magic happens. I also just want to mention internship programs. And I think that internships are really important. We actually have quite a few people that have joined us as an intern and have moved all the way up and are now senior managers or so forth with us. But the reason I think internship is important, because number 1, it's giving back, and number 2, it allows the juniors in the agency to be leaders, right? So they're now managing someone junior to them. They get a little bit of opportunity to trial and fail their management skills. And that gives them the confidence they need to also be able to then manage their clients or manage other stakeholders. Because really, as PR and communication people, all we do is manage stakeholders, right? Okay, an inclusive team culture. We have a monthly team activity. So for Chinese New Year, we created succulents in a little pot, and then we had to put string around it. And we did this as a big team, and they all looked so super cool. But by doing it as a team, we were all seeing what each other were doing, understanding different personalities, doing something together, learning to do something new. This month, they're all going to a, what do you call it, an escape room. I'll actually be out of town, but the rest of the team will be there in an escape room, and they have an hour to get themselves out, and they have to work in, in teams with people that they don't necessarily work on a daily basis. So every single month we do something like this, usually the last Friday of the month in the afternoon. We have a weekly celebration hour, and I was just listening to an amazing discussion in the corner over here about, Asians don't necessarily do happy hour, right? I'm a non-drinker myself. I'm not interested in the alcohol. But if that celebration hour has a lot of sugar, I am right there. We also celebrate holidays and festivals, agency milestones. We have a big party every June for our anniversary, which this year will be 14. And we celebrate the small things. And I think that's the most important, is celebrating the small things. Just last week, someone got an amazing piece in the FT, and the whole, everyone who was in the office is yelling and shouting and, cheering, and that kind of spirit, where you want to celebrate each other's success, it needs to be nurtured, right? So we're looking at collaborative feeling in the office, and by making this inclusive team culture, what we find is that people want to collaborate, they want to co-create, they don't feel competitive. And there's a lot of agency models where, the management style was to make competitive teams because people thought that would make people strive harder to compete with each other. And I really believe that those days are done. I think collaboration, co-creation, working together, and having a non-hostile, I'm going to say loving relationship is the future. So a continuous two-way feedback loop. This is sounding like a lot of work, but I can promise you once the structure is in place, it's not a lot of work. We have a biannual town hall meeting, so twice a year, the management team stands in front of the full agency and says, this is our goals, this is how we're measuring so far, this is what the gap is and how far we have to do, here is us measuring ourselves. And that way they can see what the agency vision is, what the purpose of the agency is, how we're living our true self, that we're living our values, and we're totally transparent. We also have a biannual performance review, and we do this through an online system. It's a three-way review, so you're reviewed by management, mentor, and peer. And so twice a year, you're given feedback on how you're doing, which means twice a year, your colleagues can look at what they're doing well and do more of that. They can look at what perhaps they have a few issues with, and we can talk about how we can help them to get over those issues. And that type of feedback loop is what our colleagues are asking for. And if we say to them, okay, should we scale back our reviews to once a year? No, they want more of it, not less of it. Quarterly team surveys. So this is something we've just implemented. We wanted to do, it was one of those things that was a 2019 and then suddenly the world completely changed. But what we want to do is track quantitatively so that we have a track on a quarterly basis of how we're doing and see any red flags that pop up along the way and be able to get that feedback and make changes quickly where they're needed. Because sometimes we don't really know what's going on. So in a performance review, you're sitting person to person, and some people don't say everything in that environment, especially in the region that I work in. Whereas in a quarterly team survey, when they've got space to say stuff and they know it's anonymous, they're all in. We also have a physical comment box, which, yes, people actually put comments in. So we go for all varieties, shapes, and forms of kind of getting that feedback loop going and making sure that there's this continuous, we're talking, they're talking, we're listening, they're listening, and making sure that it's constant. We also have solution meetups. So the directors meet together, the managers meet together. I do a CEO check-in with teams in kind of under each title, should we say. So I sit with the executives and say like, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling? What are your big problems? Then I sit with the managers and do the same thing. And I get a lot of feedback and I'm able to solve those problems. DE&I is embedded in everything we do. We are a female-founded, female-owned agency. I still 100% own the agency. And to me, ensuring that equality is right across everything we do is fundamental to who I am as a person. So we make sure that our recruitment process is as unbiased as possible. I recognize that everyone has bias, including myself, but we do the best we can. We have salary brands for each type of position, and we do not move outside of those, so that there isn't one person who happens to be Caucasian and Caucasian, and another that is, Hong Kong-born Chinese, getting different salaries, which happens often, and I think is very unfair. They're doing amazing work. They're doing the same work. They should be paying the same, no matter what their circumstances are. So we keep those salary bands, we review them annually, and we make sure that we're in line, sort of average or above the industry norm in each of our markets. And we also do a gender pay gap audit every year. And then my last point here, you'll be glad to know. Active. So you can see that I'm a very active person. I believe strongly in being active in my industry and in my community, and I believe that it is my responsibility as a member of the communities that I participate in to share opinions, hear opinions, and at this stage of my career, give back to the community. And I encourage that across the board for all of my team members. So within that, I'd like to share a little bit about our Work for Good program. So every year we give 10% of our time to pro bono projects. 10% of our time goes to pro bono projects. And this year, Stephen had a wonderful idea that we would do a reverse RFP. So what we did was we did a survey of the team and said, what SDG goal was most important to you? And they said that equality was most important to them. So then we shortlisted 8 charities that were based in Hong Kong that focused on equality. And we then asked each of those 8 to send us a proposal on if we were to work with them for a year, what could we do for them, who would we be working with, and so forth. It was a questionnaire. 6 of them got back to us. We then sent those 6 proposals that those charities gave to us to our entire team and asked them to vote. And the one that was chosen was Feeding Hong Kong. So for the next year, we'll be offering Feeding Hong Kong a year of pro bono public relations, communications, social media support. And with that, we're able to show team members that perhaps grew up in different cultures the importance of volunteering, of being active in the community, of meeting different people from different communities outside of their bubble. I think that's really important for us. We're able to, whoops, screen gone. We're able to give back to the community, solve a problem, which is actually twofold: feeding people that don't have food and getting food that's still valuable out of the dumps, right? I think that's really inspiring. I'm also very active in industry bodies, and so are my team members. I think industry bodies are really important for one thing especially, which is ethics. Our industry bodies have ethics frameworks that we should be teaching our teams, which I do teach my team, across the different sectors we work in. So whether that's public relations, working with the media, social media, digital, it's really important that we understand the industry-wide ethics and that our teams understand that. And by being a member of these associations, we as an agency are signing their ethics, and actually we pass that on to our team and ask them to sign it too, which means they need to read it and understand it and play by the ethics frameworks within our community. And last but not least, a collaborative mindset. So I think that it's really important that we play together. I love being an independent agency. I love playing with other agencies. I love the ability to learn from each other, be taught new ways of doing things, to work together on a client piece of work and have amazing results. And so if anyone has a remit for Greater China or Southeast Asia, we would love to be working with you. So this is the 8 points in one. And so just a little recap of what we talked about. And finally, what we want to do is create an agency culture where people feel like they belong, are valued, and want to be part of its growth. We've had a lot of colleagues who have gone on to do amazing things and come back and say thank you. Thank you for supercharging my career. Thank you for involving and informing and teaching me how to be an inclusive leader. And that's the type of feedback that I feel as the owner of a business and the leader of an agency is my job done. I mean, that's what I should be working on. They, my amazing teams, my colleagues, are working directly with the clients. They're doing incredible work. I can pitch in on that, absolutely. But if I focus on them, they'll focus on the rest. So I'm Kiri Sinclair. I'm the founder of Sinclair. If anyone wants to talk about what we do at the PRCA, the PRHK, or the Marketing Society, I'd very much like to speak to you about the importance of industry bodies and the ability of industry bodies to drive forward the change we need. And I just want to repeat, as independent agencies, I think we have an opportunity now to win the talent game. Because if we implement just some of these things, we're able to attract talent. And people these days aren't necessarily looking for the salary. They're looking for that sense of belonging, that sense of achievement, that sense of inclusion. And they're looking for kindness and compassion. So if I can leave that with you today, that kindness and compassion, and we all had a lot more of it, I think a lot of the problems of the world would be solved. But since I'm not a dictator of the world, all I can do is work with my team. I'll continue to do that. Thank you so much for having me. I'm now going to ask Julian to come up and tell us all about what we heard today, and also just a big thank you, Julian, for all that you've done for all of us, for inviting me, for inviting these incredible people. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.